Hi, so today we're gonna make a small program based on HTML, CSS and JavaScript which will show us different cards based on the key we press on the keyboard. So if it's a 2, we'll show the 2 of hearts. If it's a 3, we'll show the 3, and so on until the 5. So we have from 2 to 5. Any other key pressed on the keyboard will show us a different image. Maybe like this image here, which is named a favicon, which is the image shown at the top of the tab for a certain website, like CodePen here, like codepen.io. So let's start. First we need an HTML image, so we get so we need an HTML image, and we're gonna style that image with CSS with just two properties, which are the width and the height, and that in order to accommodate for the different sizes. Look at the 2, for example, it's bigger than the 4. So these cards are different sizes, and we mitigate this using those constrained width and height. So here I'm choosing the image ID, which is chosen here for that specific HTML image, which is shown here with nothing because we have no source, we have no image to show. Let's put as a default starting image the YouTube favicon. So remember, favicon is the image shown at the top of the tab for a certain website. So here we can see the YouTube favicon. If we change that to Google, we saw it, we see it. Same goes for Amazon, so you get it. Every time we put the website name /favicon.ico, we get the image at the top. So let's try this codepen.io.com. Because it's codepen.io, we get just that image. So just to check for the white we see, we can add a background color or gray, and we can see the white in the logo in here, which is not in the YouTube logo, which is transparent. Okay, so that's our default image, the YouTube favicon. We can delete this alt for now, or we can leave it. It won't make any difference for our tutorial. So now what we're gonna do is wait for keyboard presses, so an A and B, 2, 3, 4, 5, to change that image to be those cards. And if you can see the pattern here, we have, look at the naming, it's 2 of hearts.png, 3 of hearts.png, and it goes like that. So in here, in the absolute path, if I change that 2 to 3, I'll get the 3. Same goes for the 4, which is of a different size, and for the 5. So that will be the URL. I copied it now. That will be the URL that we need to put in here in the source of the image in order to get that image in here. And as you can see, the 5 and the 4 will have the same size, even though okay, so they have the same size, even though they don't have the same dimensions as PNG images, and that's because of, as we say, the styling, the width and the height we specified. So let's start with the JavaScript, our programming language we'll be using for this very small program. So first we need to pick the image. So that image, which is, okay, so let's change that back to pen.io/falcon.eco. Okay, so we need to pick this HTML image using its ID, which is the image. So what we need to do is write document.getElement by ID, first one, and we pass the image. So that thing in here should match that thing in here. So we got the image and let's use it. So I'm using that, you can copy and paste, and I'm changing the src, the source, which is that attribute in the image. I'm gonna change it to let's take google.com/. Okay, so I can change that source from my JavaScript so it reflects itself here, even though it didn't change in that HTML because we're in CodePen. We're not like, it's not gonna change in the pre-wrote code. It's just gonna change in our browser, in what we see in here. So going from that, we need a way to take that link in here. I copied, take that link and to put it as our image and change that number based on what we click on the keyboard. Okay, so to do that, okay, it's reloaded. So to do that, we're gonna need to click, okay, I'll explain that in a second. So key down, and here we're gonna pass a function. Okay, so bear with me a second. So we're telling our small program that we need to check for the body, which is the HTML body. As you already know, the HTML has one root element, which is the HTML. Let's recapitulate. So we have the HTML, and then we have the head, which we open and close, and then we have the body. Forget about the formatting now. The body, and then we close the HTML. So the body tag is what is actually here. It's what we see here. So we're telling JavaScript that we need to take the body and put an event listener. So an event listener could be a mouse click, it could be a keyboard press, key press, it could be a key down. So when you click on the key on the keyboard, but you don't release it, it's more like details. We're gonna stick to key down now, and so that's a function which adds an event listener. So like our program listens and waits for some kind of events to act upon it, and that event is a key down. Now what the program will do is dictated by that function that we pass. We could have passed it as an arrow function, it makes no difference in here, or as a normal JavaScript anonymous function, like that. Okay, so what we need to do is know what key was pressed, and we know that using that event argument. So if we say, for example, console.log event.key, every time we click, okay, so let's clear. Okay, we were in here in the body add event listener. So every time we click a key down, we will get a log which is in here in the console. So we will console.get a log of the key we're receiving at that event, the key down event. So now we need to click on that, the body of our website, to focus. We can't click here, it will right click, it will right. So we need to click there in the body to focus, and then press on any key on the keyboard. So I'm pressing keys, and as you can see I can write whatever. And so even if I write like a word like Google, Google, like I will get each letter or each character separately, and it's shown as a string, as you see. So even though, okay, so now I need to refocus on my body, because if I write here nothing will happen. So I need to click, I clicked now on the body, and now I can write back. So if you can see that even when I write numbers, it shows as strings, and we'll use that just in a moment. So what we need to account for in our small program is just the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 5, which are those 2, 3, 4, and the 5. That's what we have. So everything else will show a different image, which could be an error image or just any image you like. So we'll define what we need in here, like a small array. Could have named it characters or anything. So it's an array that contains, okay, so it's an array that contains the characters or the stuff that we can or that we need to account for, which are the 2, 3, the 4, and the 5. So we'll say inside of here, if the array, which is that array, so if the array includes the event.key, so if that confuses you, you can write it in here as const the key equal event.key, and now use the key going forward. So if the key which is pressed is included in that array, which is that array, then what happens is I want to log it. So I want to see which one of those was pressed on the keyboard. So okay, if you notice that every time I write code in here, for example I add a semicolon, the page in here refreshes. It's the normal behavior of CodePen, nothing to worry about. So okay, so I want that to be done, or else if any other key is pressed, I want to log please press another key. So we'll try it out now. We'll focus on the body. So I left clicked on here, and now I'll write 2, 3, 4, and 5. So as you see, it's showing. Now if I write 6, which is not in our array, so I pressed 6, it says that please press another key. Now I'm clicking H, O, P, nothing works, nothing gives me the actual key. It gives me that thing. which is the else. So what we need to do, knowing that we are in here, so we need to create the URL, which could be created as, okay, so it's okay, you could copy that. Okay, wait for the HTTPS. Okay, so and then in here we need the number, which comes as a string, and then we need that part, which is constant across all of them. Okay, so plus oops. Okay, so plus the key plus that. So that is being 2, 3, 4, or 5 based on what we click on the keyboard. So now let's log that just to make sure everything is okay. So I focus on the body, I click, and let's write F, so it's not in our area, it will give us, please press another key, J, H, nothing will work. Now let's press the 2, for example. So it comes in that if block, if you would, and it creates that string and logs it. So here we can see our 2 that we pressed on the keyboard. And that is exactly, the link to our image. So if we open a new tab and paste it, it will take us to our image. Now let's refocus the body. I left click and press 4, for example. So now I get that 4 instead of the 2. If I copy that and open a new tab and paste it, I will go to the 4. Okay. So let's try for the others. I refocus the body. So 2, 3, 4, 5. Everything gives it. If I write another number like 6, it just won't work. Wait a second. Okay. So wait for me a second, please. Okay, so we were, so I refocused the body. So we were pressing 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're getting exactly the URLs that will take us to those images we need to put here instead of that 3. So in order to do that, we do just like that. So the image that we picked from the HTML.src, which is source, short for source, which is that attribute which chooses what URL that image is showing, and we're putting it to be, we will put it to be that URL which is showing in here in the console, which is just what we want based on what we press on the keyboard. So let's go ahead and do it. Okay, so the image, which is our HTML image, and then we want to put the URL, so that thing here inside. Let's try it out. So we refocus the body, I clicked on here, and then let's press for example the D key on the keyboard, which does nothing except console.log. Please press another key. So I focus the body, clicked, nothing happened to the image. Now let me click the 4. So I click 4 and I get the 4. Let's click bigger, refocus the body. Click 5, I get the 5. Let's try 2 and 3. So we have it all. Now let's click on H, for example. Look at here. Nothing will change there, and I get please press another key. So let's put a kind of, it's not an error image, but just a sign that what the person pressed on the keyboard is not an acceptable not an acceptable key for what we're doing. So let's take the favicon.echo of Amazon and let's get rid of that. So that is actually you can see the default image is the codepen.io favicon, but once JavaScript starts running, we're changing it to the 3 of hearts. So let's see it first and then we change it. So codepen, then directly 3. Let's delete this, we don't need it. Okay, let's wait for the reload. Okay, so we get codepen and only codepen. Now we can delete this and disable that. Oh, let's keep it for now. So I focus the body, I click on 2. So I clicked 2, I got the URL with the 2 and I got the 2 image. Let's click 3, same thing. Now let's click the H on the keyboard. So I got please press another key in here, and the image changed to the Amazon favicon. Now I press 3 again, or 4 or 5, let's press 5. I get back that. So H, O, so I got another, please press another key, and the Amazon image stays, the Amazon favicon. So there you have it. We have completed this tutorial. I will maximize the code in a second in order for you to get it. So that's the HTML and that's the CSS, and the JavaScript will be that. You can remove the console.clear, but it's just that with every reload of our project, like when we change something in the editor, like for example add a semicolon, so it reloads and everything in the console gets cleared. So that's what that console.clear does. You can remove it if you want, but I like to keep it. So that's it, and until the next one.